Alright, hello everyone, it's mysticjuicer back with some more Yomi action. We've got IYL action here between myself and Variable. And sorry Variable, I know we had, I'd mentioned that we could possibly commentate this together, but this one's been, I'm like several weeks behind in Yomi casting, so I figured I'd just go ahead and record these matches before I come up with any more excuses not to. So open up Troc. Generally what I do if I'm feeling unconfident about my opponent's picks. Very good all-round character. We happen to walk into not a terribly great matchup for him versus Onimaru, of course. It's going to be very difficult to block, especially given that we have only a 2 in our hand. So given that we have fairly crappy kind of options here, now we'll just go ahead and open up with an attack, try to duff out a 10 of some kind. 10 or an 8 is what I'm fishing for. And Variable goes for the very safe opening of just blocking. Typically, if you're playing against Onimaru, you are caught between the pincer of opening ace and opening 10 attack. So you are pressured right out the gate. So deferring a choice by going for a block is very nice. So luckily, we nab a 10 attack as he was looking for us to go back to blocking probably. But luckily we still did not have any good options on that second play. So basically the queen was a default pick. Playing the king here is, again, kind of a low success rate, I think, play. Because I think it's very likely, that he's going to go for either another guard crush attempt or an ace, and king loses to both of those. 9 cards in hand is pretty good hand size for Onimaru. I definitely prefer like 10 or 11 cards in hand, or 12 if you can manage it. But that's all right. And since we have, since we still don't have any good options here, then we will go ahead and just play whatever the best card in our hand is at any given time. And we've still got no normals, so yeah, our entire hand is checkmated to guard crush attempts here, unfortunately. I could spend jokers to get aces in hand, but I am counting on those to deal with dodge follow-ups. I will be wanting to play, normal attacks in the mid-game as well, especially since I am so far down in hit points already. I'm going to want to duff out, 6 attacks and throw attempts in the future. So having the jokers as blue bursts can be very, very nice. But yeah, we're still very much stuck in awkward hand land. Probably the best way to play this would have been to joker a bit more early and just get aces. So play Eagle Totem as quickly as we can. I'm probably going to attempt to 5 attack into Eagle Totem here. But now that he's at 10 cards in hand, the dodges are also an option. So going to try to get some value out of those jokers, get a few more cards, hopefully pick up an 8 so we have some option to block with. Yeah, and just getting wrecked. Just getting wrecked by the default plays here. Could have played the Eagle Totem raw. Probably would have been the better choice, but was expecting the possibility of queen. Although queen, I think, unlikely to come out, since it does essentially lose or tie. Yeah, it hits me with another 10. So this is rapidly becoming basically unwinnable. Now we do have 80 damage worth of Eagle Totem in our hands right now. So if we hit Eagle Totem, Gold Burst, Eagle Totem again, Gold Burst, Eagle Totem again, power up the 2s, Eagle Totem again, that would all work. But that goes to a really low hand. I mean, it's not like my hand is all that great at the moment anyway, so I might as well try for something. But this is pretty rough. Not a huge fan. Yeah, so luckily we're getting a couple of blocks here, but it is so late in the game, and we still have not drawn any 7s, any 8s. And with attached clockwork soldiers, it becomes ever more likely that he is going to be playing some dodges here. But I can't get too fancy by chasing dodges with throws, because if he just happens to play a normal, and he really has no reason not to play normals like 5s or whatnot, because he's been blowing me up with guard crushes, and I have not shown any inkling of defending myself against it. Okay, there we go. Could have blocked successfully, but at least we'll cash in for some damage. Get that moral victory, make those life totals look a little bit closer. So we're going for our power-ups first to see if we can get some additional blocks. See if we can potentially bait some dodges here, get ourselves a slightly larger hand size. And again, we're an eagle totem away from essentially even here. But yeah, just keep playing guard crush normals. It's been working so far, and the more he plays them, the less likely I am to anticipate them, because so many of them have already come out. So why would I bother? Why would I consider them that much in my range when yeah, 5? So 3 10s, 2 8s is a pretty good draw. And if he's got the other 8, he will kill here. We have an opportunity to gold burst, but I just feel like dodges are so likely from this position that go for the block anyway. What I should be doing, yeah, love to have aces, but no attached blocks. It's too bad. We could be in a position to get back in the game if we could get some of that. So I'm hoping to punch out a huge normal, but with a 12-card hand and that big of a life total, life lead, dodges and final authorities are incredibly likely, and that is going to close out game 1. Very discouraging game 1. I'm looking at my camera of myself, and I'm not very happy. Yeah, I was looking for way more normal attacks. So the base level strategy of play 5s, 6s, and 4s against Onimaru in the early to mid game would have worked out quite nicely, but I absolutely did not have any of that. So rough stuff. So we will go ahead and try to cleanse the salt by cleanse the salt by putting some salt on the other guy. So no aces in the opening hand. This can be rough. I don't want to. The strategy here is going to be not to give variable or the Onimaru player to give him as few cards as possible. I like the opening guard crush a lot. You can often count on the Argagarg player to, if he doesn't have the aces in the opening turn, he might choose to play a block anyway, thinking that, hey, his reputation as a horrible fishy fellow with tons of ace blocks and the devastating power that they have in this matchup, essentially controlling entirely the pace of the matchup, would discourage Onimaru from doing anything risky, and therefore you can get away with a first turn block, and then you can power up, and then you've got your aces. So we get there anyway, and we're just going to do the obvious thing. and just start establishing our level 1 play as quickly as possible. Just going to rotate that ace so that I can keep track of which aces are revealed. So I know my ace of hearts and the ace of clubs are the ones I've powered up for, and then the ace of diamonds is one that is hidden. And we're just going to see. We're going to hang out that... I'm going to play out those aces a couple of times and basically go fishing, see how long it's going to take for variable to respond, and how often he feels that I am going to just do the obvious thing. So it turns out a fair amount of times in a row, that is 3 turns of ace blocking. And it's all a matter of it's all a matter of how, you know, how well established, you know, how does he feel that we're going to play this? It's the first time we have met, or at least we haven't met that often in tournament. So getting a bead on how your opponent is going to be playing a particular matchup, and a particularly lopsided matchup like this is really, really important in terms of establishing a win, or you know, making plays happen in this matchup as Onimaru is copper. Is really tough, and it depends a lot on the temperament of the Argugard player. So we're seeing which of the other is going to crack first. Yeah, and this is absolutely a road that Argugard can take to losing this matchup. Playing ace block too many times in a row, and playing too passively, allowing Onimaru to assemble a huge hand size. Think of how much better my position would be right now if I had thrown... I mean, I guess I haven't drawn all that many throws, but if I'd mixed even one throw in the last couple of rounds, I've established then that I will throw. That I, you know, it's not the other player doesn't have a read into, you know, how many throws, the composition of my hand. I'm Argugard. All my combos are, you know, whatever. They're achievable at any hand size essentially. It's always smart to play queen. It's always smart to play jack. It's always smart to lead king. You know, it's always smart to put a normal out. Like, all of these things are reasonable things to do, and it's always smart to play aces. So it's very difficult to tell, like, oh, okay, is this a matter of my opponent? That felt like very weird. I guess the 10 attack was absolutely only going to beat a throw there. Very odd choice, I feel like. Although I guess he's, so it's establishing his approach to the matchup, which is, okay, well, certainly he's not going to block forever, right? He is eventually going to want to do something. And, you know, after 7 turns of block, then, yeah, maybe he feels comfortable enough to start putting some throws in there. Joke's on him. I'm terrified. So we get lucky with a nice 5 poke. We take the life lead. That's going to be very, very important for us here. We've played 1 attack. So... I'm hoping that this encourages him to play another big haymaker of something, since he's already, you know, his last 10 attack was punished. Therefore, I might feel safe enough and aggressive enough to go to a throw, and therefore he can follow up that really unsafe play with, you know, the same unsafe play, because certainly I'm not going to expect that. So now, after having played 2 big normals, big juicy normals, we're going to go right back to blocking and see what happens. And what happens is we get thrown, get tossed here, and we're going to establish phase 2, which is we're going to start bluffing like crazy. I'm still hoping to hang on to the jokers in order to cover a dodge, a successful dodge on his part. That is definitely one way that Argugard can lose this matchup, is to get too feisty with pokes, essentially, with normal attacks and queens and stuff. And because the length of time that this matchup can take, it's more likely than almost any other matchup for Onimaru, with this kind of rhythm, especially where there's a lot of block happening, for him to be able to assemble 4 kings in hand. And dodging into 4 kings is 35 damage. That is absolutely nothing to sneeze at. 85 hit point Arg can be, you definitely want as many hit points as possible against Onimaru, especially a 13 card hand Onimaru. So having the Joker helps us hedge a little bit around that, because if he does final authority with king or dodge into king, then he still establishes, he can still retreat from that. He doesn't have to commit the kings, although they do become much less powerful if they are played separately rather than all together in one burst. Luckily, Onimaru has a ton of good dodge follow-ups. He can dodge into 10s, he can dodge into 8s if he really wants to play those as throws. Dodging into Jack-Jack, dodging into Ace-Ace is perfectly fine. You're probably not going to get more than one, or you're probably not going to need to attach more than 1 or 2 aces anyway. So spending 2 of them on Ace-Ace is absolutely fine. Okay, once again, we clash aces there. Establish another round of Bubble Shield. Last time got aggressive. I don't really have anything that I particularly want to power up. Powering up the 4s, I guess, is fine. The dodges are, especially in the mid to late game, especially in this position where we were both at a bajillion cards in hand, the dodges are a little bit better than the aces, especially once we're already in Bubble Shield mode. Because we can follow them up with, dodging into queen for 14 damage, and that accelerates our end game, which is already incredibly powerful in this matchup. Okay, here we see another dodge. He's got to spend some amount of cards. Yeah, throws away a 6, not particularly valuable card, so just breaking the shield with the least effective card in his mix. I believe that Ace of Clubs, yeah, the Ace of Clubs is definitely known. That's one of the earlier ones that we powered up for. And we are back into the neutral. We've got a bit of a life lead. Could perhaps play a normal here, although I am a little wary of final authority. He's been playing a fair amount of it. He hasn't really thrown me in neutral all that much, so I don't see all that big a reason to play normals. The block attack range is working out very nicely for us, so no reason to mess with a good thing, and I don't particularly need queens. Okay, yeah, those sevens in hand are going to make the 7s and the Joker in hand are going to make this end game particularly brutal. I'm going to play it as slow as possible. Don't want to get too don't want to allow any ray of sunshine between to crack through the wall of our victory here. Don't want to leave even a single pinhole open. Okay, we've established a fairly aggressive attack range at Bubble Shield. We're just going to toss a card here. 6s aren't particularly useful to us. They do not have a dodge side to them, so that is just fine. Could elect to go for some throws here. Again, Bubble Shield turns. We have absolute freedom to get aggressive. And we're still at 54 hit points. So it's going to take a lot of throws to close out the last half of this game if we do lose the bubble shield here. Okay, nice. 5s are not a guarantee here, especially how long this this match has already gone. We are, more than halfway through our decks. The 10 has got to be known. Okay, nice face down. Yeah, I'm just going to probably, well, yeah, no, there's no reason not to respect it. He's already at 12 cards in hand. So if he does have the Joker and he gets a whole bunch of cards, that just further accelerates the late game, and that's fine for us as well. No reason not to cash out. And again, just not choosing to throw just because he has not yet indicated that he is... well, he has indicated that he's willing to play some attacks in Bubble Shield, but he's not yet indicated that he's willing to spend throws to get out of this. Probably the 2 dodge would have been a better choice here. Yeah. Would allow us to spend one of those throws, get some free damage in. It's always nice. It's not like we terribly need 13 cards in hand. Yeah, 5's as good as a 6. No reason not to toss either of those, to be quite honest. And again, really not sure. I mean, not particularly... I'm not sure if I'm trying to milk this for as long as possible, like at the time, whether this was a some kind of mind game thing. Like, I'm just going to keep blocking, and I'm not going to spend dodges at all. It would definitely be more effective to spend dodges, because it would close things out faster. But there is some merit to extending a victorious game longer. It does allow my opponent more chances to get back in the game, so I'm not too thrilled about that. But if I do win this, I can maybe accumulate some mental damage, and it does establish a fairly lopsided range on my part. Which is, it's far more effective to exploit a reaction to a lopsided range. My opponent expects me to block 90% of the time, then I can attack a ton of the time to a lot of success if they try to punish that in their next game. So with 3 7s in hand and Bubble Shield still up, and the first throw of the game essentially being played here, we are basically guaranteed the win here. So 3 turns with Protective Ward. Yeah, so we'll block here and then we'll spend Protective Ward. Three times. Yeah, and then it's guaranteed victory. We can just block for the rest of the game and we'll be fine. Especially the block here with Joker. We'll guarantee the 7s. Okay, and we don't actually have to spend it at all. So that closes it out. There is no way to get back into this game. There it isn't. This is probably fine. Yeah. So there we go. We've exercised the salt. We're feeling good about the horrible things that we have that we've inflicted on our opponent, and we're ready to move on to the rest of the set. So we'll go even. It'll be 1-1. So we do still have to catch up. We're a game behind in total. Time for Checkmate Buster. Yeah, there we go. And of course, now that we've got both Jokers, we can freely spend both Jokers here. Okay. It's like, no. No. The guarantee is in. Okay, we'll take the concession. All right, so playing Argagarg, there's a couple of options here against Argagarg. Trock is a very good option. Gloria is the standard consensus hardest possible counterpick, and yeah, there's a couple of different characters that don't feel just quite that hopeless against against a winning Argagarg. So that game could have gone very, very differently. Had Variable played just slightly more throw heavy in the early to mid game, that would have been much, much closer. Even with almost a no throw range, he still reduced my hit points to 48. So it gives you a sense of just how hard Onimaru can hit. Okay, opening turn against Quince. Quince also considered a very strong Argagarg counterpick. Honestly, I don't really see it. I guess if Quince's hand gets really out of control and Argagarg is playing fairly low hand, that's pretty bad. But I don't know. I think, obviously, I am not a particularly great Argagarg player, and I don't know how good a Quince player that Variable is. I think he participated in the All Quince Mirrors tournament, although that is a particular kind of environment. So that can be helpful or hurtful depending on how what lesson you choose to take from it. But yeah, so I mean, I think Frau Rollo, I think, is the kind of the person who has most expressed that this matchup is decidedly Quince favored. But what I'm hoping is I can use basically my knowledge of Quince, just basically as Quince, to see what I can do and kind of beat the matchup that way. But we'll see. So he's got J Spin. This will beat any attack, and with 8 cards in hand, it's not impossible that he wouldn't just play it raw. It's not quite enough cards to go super hard on. But I figure I'll play really safe. If I'm wrong by attacking into an honest jack, then the worst thing that happens is he dodges into at 8 or 9 cards, if he dodges into Patriot Mirror, that would probably be the worst outcome. Or into a Queen would also be particularly effective. So we're going to try to not give Quince cards. We're just going to try to deal a bit of damage. Might have been better to just take the knockdown and attempt something, but I didn't have any cross-up normals. Not that he would know that, but I'm not particularly. There's no real strong reason to take that tack. So I'm hoping to get a desperation attack here. No, instead we go block, but at least we start establishing that we are still willing to play the aces. Play the queen, because again, we've played a ton of aces in a row in our last game, so maybe we've established a pattern. Nope, he hedges with the 3, so I'm expecting dodge into ace or queen there. Yeah, we see the ace. He's got a mix-up opportunity, but he's only got 8 cards in hand. So again, the mix-up here is, and he goes for the actual Patriot Mirror. He doesn't go for a positive spin turn. So I'm just going to play the queen. I want to defend primarily against a cross-up normal. And getting Quince to spend cards here, I'm not particularly sad about. Another ace is, again, it's not great. It does deal, pretty card efficient damage. But again, the spending of that ace came at the cost of 3 cards on his last turn. The ace, the dodge, and the throw that he had to play. Okay, here we've got spin J. See what happens. We get tossed. That is our second known ace. Tossed into the jack. He's doing pretty good damage here, but he's on a 5-card hand. We've got a 7 to defend against king spin. Unfortunately, he's still got jacks. So I'm hoping that he will eventually go for a real jack and walk into bubble shield. He could also just play the jack attack side forward, and that hedges nicely. Yeah, there we go. So that works out nicely for us. So there's a lot of ways he can play safe with the jacks. I'm going to rotate the ace of diamonds because that is the unknown one now that we've blocked with the ace of spades. I can't be spending the 7s. I need to keep those for king spin, especially given that I've already thrown with the 8 early on in the game, and I haven't found all that many cards after that. However, he is still fairly low on hand size, so I'm expecting him to play kind of defensive, or maybe throw with some slow throws that I can get underneath. The 9 is only ever going to clash with the slowest throw he's going to play, so that's not great, but we have been playing kind of pokey, so hopefully he will dodge into this throw. Nope, we got undercut by the 8th throw. And that's probably the real place where this matchup is Quinn's favorite. Is he wins on throws because you have to conserve your fast throws to deal with king, and he does not. So he can safely spend, his 8s and his 9s, which are very effective at covering your options. Luckily, he's not playing honest with his king there, and we get to poke out a 3 and go back on the offensive. So again, the thing we've got going for us is we have a larger hand size than he does. We still have a joker. We've got ace-ace on deck, which is very nice. King is actually a pretty good combat reveal because it can deal a tremendous amount of damage in our hand right now. And unfortunately, I feel like I'm playing this just slightly too passively. I'm expecting him to haymaker, but I think I haven't really thrown enough to really get that, to earn that. Hoping I can bait. Yeah, there we go. So we don't get knocked down. We only take the 9 damage. He does get the spin opportunity. We do lose our kind of obvious follow-up here with king into blowfish spikes, which is unfortunate. We played very conservative on these spins previously, playing only attacks and blocks. It might be time to put a throw out there. Yeah, the throw would have won. This time we'll actually put the joker out there. Hopefully he thinks we don't have it since we bluffed last turn, and we do get something. So he is on a 5-card hand. We're at 8 hit points, but he's only at 30. So he's not all that far ahead of us. We have king in hand, so we can do something like 2 king 5. That is 13, 15 damage. That puts him at 10. That is a throw and something away. Given that he has spent kings already, feel pretty safe going in with the 7 throw. Could get blown up by a normal attack here, but I think it's more likely that we are playing a dodge attack range to be safe. Playing a big normal or a throw here could put variable in a tough spot. It's unlikely that he loses by playing a normal or a big throw, though, so could have taken that as an opportunity to go in with something. Still no joker, but I figure that letting him spend another of his very precious few cards would be pretty good here. We've got a 2 attack, which is really great speed. The basically the only thing it loses to is surprise consent of the governed or a gold burst, and I'm not expecting either of those, which is of course why I walk immediately into it. So nicely played by Variable there. The shoe is definitely on the other foot now. He's got tremendous pressure. I should definitely think about powering up those 9s, yeah. Because at least this way, if I block consent of the governed, I do take 4 chip damage, which leaves me very little health remaining. But it does give me an opportunity to play dodges almost completely free, because he cannot kill off of anything if I dodge. So I can perhaps use that as a bait to get some effective throws in. I'm going to bet it all on the fact that he is willing to throw from this position. And unfortunately, it looks like we are dead. Yeah, really no reason not to follow that up. So nicely done on his part. Taking the lead, 2-1. So did not anticipate him playing that safely. I guess there's very few things that I can kill him with if he dodges. I would throw into king, that would be 16-18. But I've already spent the king earlier. I haven't really been playing as though I had it. So smart choice. I think that's basically the only thing that could have... Actually, no, he was at 15. Yeah, so I could have thrown into jack for lethal, although I did not have the jack. Okay, so thinking about where I want to go next, the only reason I'm hesitating to go immediately to Troc is that if I do, I had that very bad match against Onumaru earlier, and so a little bit worried about getting the rematch there. However, basically what it came down to was, okay, that match was bad because I didn't draw any 4s, 5s, or 6s in the opening, 15 cards, not counting opening hand. So, let's not count on that. I think I can probably take that match, especially, hopefully, with kind of a read on Variable's habits. I can adjust to the way that he was playing and do better the second time around. But first, we've got to beat this Quince. So opening with a 4 attack, expecting an anti-king play or a gutsy throw. So it doesn't lead to anything, but we do get an additional card, and getting additional cards is never a bad thing. No combo, just slaps. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta slap. The other thing about this matchup that's really nice is you can basically play 4s, 5s, and 6s in the neutral with almost impunity with Quince at a 7-card hand, because he gets almost no value off of trades, and he gets almost nothing off of this 3 attack. Almost any cards that he spends here are going to be a strategic combat loss for him. Okay, no positive spin either. That is a pretty great opening. So pretty much tells me that he's got nothing of value in hand, or he's implying that he's got nothing of value in hand. So we'll see if we can connect this king. King is the weakness-seeking missile. There we go, find 15 damage. And it's not particularly important to save these for the late game, because in the late game, anything that Quince plays other than a 3 is going to beat your king anyway. So just spending them when you have a read on the throw is perfectly fine. Playing on the second turn would have also cashed out and won that combat for me, but yeah, it's all right. Okay, so I play, again, the logic here, playing the slow side of Jack, is if he beats me with a Jack, I'm really not all that bothered. And this hand is shaping up really, really nicely. I can start to play for strategic combat losses now. If he combos me and tries to make up this 30-point life deficit, he's going to have to go lower on hand. It's going to weaken his spins, and if he elects to put the pedal to the metal further than he should, then that's going to leave him very, very weak to War Stomp loops. So happily, we expected the combat loss, we take a combat win instead. We extend that life lead even further, which only further will serve to make those 10s that much more effective. Of course, then I remember that Quince has 2 truths, so he's got a couple of ways out of this snare that we are creating for him. Okay, definitely going to give him the 7 and the 10 here. Giving Quince basically 2 aces with the ace and the 3s is something I absolutely want to avoid. Not something I want to go for at all. Play the 2, just, why not? Playing pretty defensive so far. Okay, we get hit with a 6, but again, 9-card hand. It's going to lead to some damage, or not. So again, perfectly fine. We took a risk by playing the throw, because anytime any player plays a throw, somebody's getting hurt. With very, very rare throw clash circumstances. Okay, so he elects to go for a pretty safe mix-up here. He can essentially play the jack straight, and if we block, then he gets 2 free cards. If we throw, he hits us with the jack. If we attack, he gets to dodge or hit us with the jack. So playing the dodge here just to give him the least possible fuel out of that turn. And we've still got plenty of dodges in hand, so really not feeling the lack. Still, we're on a 7-card hand. It's not a terrible idea to get some blocks in, especially since he's been playing kind of passive, mostly throw, block, dodgy kind of stuff. So I was feeling like an attack was coming there. They've got to play it eventually, or you just default win as a grappler, right? Okay, he does get a positive spin or a Patriot Mirror setup here. Goes for the Queen, the gutsiest of all combat reveals, and me without a normal attack in my hand that I'm willing to play. We can just play the Queen here, though. Or if we are expecting some shenanigans, we can go ahead and just take the block, because the Queen spin is not particularly threatening if he's playing it honestly. Pretty decent piles. Going to not give him the 10, just because don't want to give him, particularly better payoff setups in the future. So denying 10 seems fine. The 3 doesn't particularly worry me as a dodge or as an attack. The 8 doesn't do, anything more than any other throw would do. So why not deny the ability? Okay, there we go. So we elected to take the Queen throw if he was willing to play it. So actually a good side of that mix-up after Queen reveal is just normal throw, because you maintain the Queen, and you can at least combo into it for fairly good damage. Probably a better choice to block with the 3 here rather than with the 8, I think. The 8 is a valuable card as a throw follow-up. I don't have anything else that I can throw follow-up. The Jack is strictly worse. But we luck into another 8, because we're Trock and we draw good. Now that we have an 11-card Quince, though, those 10s are going to be earmarked as dodges. It's very unlikely he's going to run out of steam at this point. The jack is only ever going to be played fast side first unless I have an incredibly compelling reason not to. For instance, he's got 3 known aces in the discard, or 2 known aces in the discard, and I'm not really worried about consent of the governed. Luckily, we poke out a 7 with our queen there. Start drawing our 8s, or our aces, I should say. Oh god, it's too late. It's too late. Gotta go. We're working on a really nice life lead. We can play very conservative. We don't have jokers yet, but he's playing pretty wild at the moment. Seen single ace come out. I think that is, I suspect, the second single ace played. So consent of the governed is kind of off base, and I can start playing the slow side of jack again, just to milk as much value out of that as possible. With him at sub 30 and with 3 dodges in hand, we can start trying to close out the game with dodges. You do have to, as Troc, really manage your I mean, in so much as you have to manage anything as Troc, managing your dodges and your queens is actually pretty important, especially if you are unable to or unwilling to power up for aces. You can get yourself in a position where you become a far worse character. If you spend too many dodges and then have to rely on queen pressure to get your throw game going, or vice versa, you have spent all of your queens and you have to rely on your dodges to get your throw game going for you. Yeah. And we're just bullying now with superior options. With a lot of the jacks gone, with a lot of the aces gone, with the joker discarded, and with the threat of Beast Unleashed and normal throws coming out at any point, it can be very, very difficult to it's fine to play normals and throws and stuff against Troc in the early game, where if he's trying to activate his Beast Unleashed game plan, you want to be throwing him. If he's trying to activate his bully you with jacks and queens game plan, you're going to want to be blocking. If he's trying to rush you down with throws, you want to be playing normals, because that's going to get you the hand you need to play the game you want in the mid game and the late game. But right now in the late game, with this amount of a life lead, it can be really, really, really tough for Quince. So I'm playing the 5 because, again, if he goes for a 5 or 6 cross-up attempt here, the 5 is going to defend me against both of those options. It trades with Quince's 5. So the only thing he can really undercut me with is a 3 into something, and I just felt like that was kind of unlikely to come out. Unfortunately, I don't have anything to follow it up with, but that is absolutely fine to just have a safe turn. And now with 12 cards in or 12 hit points remaining, I can elect to use the War Stomps just to get knocked down and play the threat of Eagle Totem, meaty Eagle Totem, or Bull Rush. With the amount of aces in his discard, I believe he hasn't powered up for any recently. Perfectly fine to play that kind of stuff. I haven't really gone after him with throws recently, but he is probably not secure enough in his sense of safety to play completely open to throws. I do have a massive life lead, so it is not unreasonable for me to play a couple of throws. I do have a joker as backup, so even if I get lit up with an attack, it's not going to be all that painful. So don't attack me doesn't mean too much against a grappler. You can still continue to play a block throw range. against that kind of play. So I'm just going to largely ignore that. Go for the dodge and get caught with the king. I should probably just throw a 7. Yeah, throw the 7 on there. See if we can avoid taking some damage. Yeah, I guess the 8's not all that important either. Okay, so he's going to cash out with queen. We have already spent our war stomps, so we don't really have all that much to offer. And the read there. I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable. Dodging against low health people, especially as a grappler, where they need to be playing some kind of safe. Like they need to be mixing attacks into their range to cover your throws, your dominant throws. Playing a dodge just means that, hey, it's like I have the dominant throw, so if you attack into it, I guess I win, kind of thing. So going for a gutsy throw in the late game against an advantaged foe is not always a bad thing. And luckily we get the cross up 4. Never follow up. Yeah, the 4 was fairly low risk there. It only lost to wake up ace or wake up jack. So fairly few things that were going to get me in trouble there. So we are at the ace match, speaking of aces, and we are going to face down against Geiger. So let's see if we can work our magic here. I actually don't mind this matchup all that much. That probably tells me more about how difficult Geiger is to play in comparison to how difficult Trock is to play. So I am all the more happy that this set has gone as long as it has. I'm actually very happy with that combat result, that first opening. I think it would have been a better idea for him to just go for the 5, perhaps 5 into king straight instead of 5-6 into king. I understand wanting to cash out as much damage as possible, but you are now a 6-card Geiger. Okay, it works out. he did not do the obvious thing, which is go for a low cross up, because Trock is expecting the Trock player is expecting you to try to cash in on as much damage as possible. And he's getting a lot of early combat wins, so this is not great for me. He's playing it smart now after that first kind of wild combo or expensive combo in terms of cards. He's mixing in some jabs, some empty throws. I'm gonna try to block our way out of this here. He's played a lot of 5s already. So the only way he really gets around an even block is if he goes for another throw. I've already shown that I am willing to wake up king. Okay. Narrowly avoid another 5 attack. So that's pretty good. I feel pretty happy about that. That might have been the breaking point. So now we're back in the neutral. So we continue to do Trock things. We can block, or we can throw. Still an 8-card Geiger. It's not a tremendously huge hand, although our life total has been whittled down a pretty significant amount. So his late game is definitely getting activated here. And I've got a choice here whether I want to gold burst this. I think I'm going to save blue burst this. I think just saving the Joker for either a wake up gold burst here, or as just another cross up defense. Like I'm trying to get as many blocks attached as possible. Blocking with the 3, probably not the brightest thing, although he has not yet attacked with that other 5. There we go. Yeah. So hedging against the known 5 there, and managed to come away with the first attached block. Feeling pretty good about that. We've got ourselves to a 9-card hand. Still haven't touched him, which is not great, but he's still at 7 cards in hand, which is very good for us. It's very unlikely that his hand is significantly developed. It probably has kind of a mishmash of options in it. Not a ton of different tools, or at least not a developed set of tools. That's the important part. So continue flashing that tempting block there. See if he's going to get feisty. Still have the Joker, so I can blue burst if I elect to go in with a throw. The only thing I'm worried about hitting with a throw is an empty normal. That could be pretty rough. Although either way, we're only going to come away with kind of a limited amount of damage. Whether he follows it up or not. Catching a queen would be ideal. Okay, that is relatively fine. Only managed to take 8 damage there. Don't want to take too many more knockdowns. You want to have the threat of dodges as an option. And he's pretty much been bullying us. He's been playing a fair amount of throws, a fair amount of big normals. I duffed out a king. So I'm expecting maybe a king or something to come out here as he puts on the pressure. I'm going to take this full combo. Okay, spends the king. And he's absolutely ruining us at this point. Okay, 2 jokers. 2 jokers makes it a little bit more livable. It's going to be tricky to navigate late game temporal distortion now. But we might as well try to get 2 attached blocks, I guess. There's a couple different options. So we can play aggressive. We can play into another king or ace here. It's not unreasonable for him to have either of those options. We can play entirely soft, try to get, basically play a weighted 50-50 because he spent so many 5s to try to attach another block and activate our comeback potential off of Beast Unleashed. Get rid of a 2. It's not all that impressive or valuable. Again, trying to get that attached block. We've got a huge life deficit to make up. So if he gets risky here, with Wake Up Throw, that is really brutal. And we're going to have to spend the first of our jokers there. Just not to die. Cannot take in a full combo here. Our next joker is going to be very likely to be effective, though. I'm going to keep blocking because our only hope is Beast Unleashed at this point. I'm hoping that he's going to play conservative enough. Yeah, there we go. So he had the opportunity to kill there and elected to take it. Might have been better to go for just a cross-up attempt. You don't risk all that much. The worst that could happen is you get hit with a queen or a jack, right? So not terribly high a risk, and you get a 50-50 to basically clean out the game, right? So I get rid of all of my dodges because I'm going to need to hit. So I get rid of all my dodges to make the rest of my dodges more effective, and also I need to hit Beast Unleashed in the next turn or two. I think dodging here is fairly high probability to be successful, given that I have just powered up 3 9s. There's really no reason to hang on to another 9. So I'm hoping to catch a king here. He has gone for research and development. The mix-up is king or not. If he's got a gold burst, he may elect to play it here as well. Not a bad spot, although I would probably hang on to it if it were me. Okay, it goes for the queen instead. Face downs. will respect it. Running into a joker there basically means that I will not have Beast Unleashed again. So very good bluff on his part. Okay, gets the jack. That is really thorny. Because I no longer have any dodges. So I've got to be correct with either Queen or Beast Unleashed. That's what it comes down to. Now, it has been a really long game so far. So, and I haven't played any jacks or queens, I think. Pretty sure I've only played kings as far as specials go. So we do hit the Beast Unleashed. He was hoping to block into a larger hand. We shut that down. We take 45 damage off of his hit points. And we are back in this. We basically have to rely on the fact that he's got a jack and 3 mystery cards, and that we can beat that hand with the face cards that we have. So contemplating powering up the 8s. The only reason that's dicey is in order for that to be effective, I also need to power up the jacks. And right now, the only thing that's keeping me basically alive in this game is my queen or fast side of jack to get around his fast time spiral. Fast time spiral is basically lethal if it hits a block. So unfortunately, he has found his patience. Manages to successfully block the queen. Hoping to poke out a fast time spiral there. Okay, we're putting it all on the line here. Trying to cash out as much damage as quickly as possible. Ace puts him at 23. That is basically 2 successful combats away from death. Okay, powers up the jack. So he's got 5 cards in hand. Okay. 4 cards in hand, 2 known aces. So now, knowing that, I can play soft to throw. Because if he does throw me, I have Gold Burst. And it's almost impossible that he's not going to follow it up. Yeah, there we go. Get the 10 throw. I'm going to throw this joker out there. He's going to follow it up. We live. We get 2 cards. He has, and we're back into the same situation. He has 2 known aces and 2 mystery cards in hand. So if he doesn't want to get thrown, he doesn't want to get aced, then he's going to have to play that cycloid. If he has a throw, he may elect to play it 2 speed side first. It's a guaranteed kill unless I play ace. Goes for the 10 throw. Put him at 23. So we've got 3 known aces in the discard. We can power up to at least put 1 of those in our hand. Hoping that the red one calls to the other red one. Having the dodge here is really, really valuable. So there's 2 ways of using that, right? I can knock him down and force him to attack into a block. Or I can spend a dodge he definitely doesn't think I have in order to get away from this mix-up of basically throw or 0.0 speed attack. Or 2-point speed attack, which kills everything. Okay, found another jack. I basically can't respect this. If it's a joker, then he gets 2 free cards. This is very valuable, though. Having him on 2 known aces with possible threat of really outside case threat of me having 2 aces is probably going to force him to, like, even if he has the courage to play at 2-point speed, like 2 speed side facing forward, he might not actually have a throw at this point. So blocking is incredibly strong here. It gives me another turn to be able to assemble, to be able to power up the 5s. So luckily, we basically have a read on the fact that he does not have a throw in hand. Power up the 5s. And now it is a 50-50 mix-up if he doesn't have a king. So we can duff everything that isn't a king, or we can throw his dodge. Or block. Because he can do the same thing to me that that I did to him, which is just say, okay, if you throw me, I'm dead, but I think that I can outpatience you. Luckily, he drew a queen, and we luck our way. we read our way into a victory in that set. Hells of games to variable. Hats off, man. That was a crazy, crazy set. Absolutely dominating performances on both sides in a couple of those matchups. So hats off to you. Hell of a fun set. I definitely needed a lie down after that. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully it was as entertaining for you as it was. Well, it wasn't for me because it was pretty fucking terrifying. but we won in the end, and that's all that I'm going to count as mattering. So until next time, enjoy yourself some Yomi, and I will see you then. Cheers. Yeah, several days of recovery is absolutely correct.